everyone, welcome to TotalSUP. Today we've got Tristan Boxford, the founder and CEO of the APP, and we're going to talk about the 2022 APP World Tour. Tristan Boxford, how are you?
I'm doing good, thanks, Mathieu. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, thank you. You've got a pretty sexy looking seat behind you. Where are you?
Well, it's the pain of being a global traveler. I'm actually in Korea on my way back to Europe. So I'm going to be back in Portugal tomorrow, but we just had a qualifier event in Busan. So good warm up for what's coming in September, and just an amazing atmosphere, amazing vibe over there. And yeah, everyone's super excited about having everybody come down to Busan in September.
Yes, some exciting locations to attend this year, both for the athletes, also for the visitors and for the commentators as well. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's coming up. The first big event of the year is going to be Santa Monica, and that's only in 2 weeks. And it's in Southern California, a place which I feel is very much rooted in the APP World Tour's history. But strangely enough, that where you haven't really organized anything since 2015, right? Apart maybe from the PPG 2018, the last edition of the PPG, which was sanctioned by the APP World Tour.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think, there's a couple of reasons we really wanted to get back to Southern California. Obviously, the PPG and the Battle of the Paddle was such kind of flagship events for California and such important events for the kind of history of stand-up paddling. And in the last couple of years, it's kind of taken a sleepy moment for stand-up paddling in terms of events in Southern California. So we wanted to address that, bring the energy back. It is, one of the really early founding places for the sport after Hawaii. And we really wanted to kind of embrace that legacy for the sport, but also as a world tour, we got to make sure that, while a lot of the energy at the moment is in Europe and as far as the development of the sport, the US, North America and the Americas as a whole are very important. Asia is extremely important. So we need to address all these regions as the world tour so that we can really crown a legitimate world champion at the end of the year. So, it's exciting to go back to Southern California. And I think the other reason as well is, with LA 2028 coming up right behind Paris, being able to be represented in both the Olympic destinations over the next, 2 Olympics is very important and strategic for stand-up paddling's entry to the Olympics. So,
absolutely. Can we dwell on California, on Southern California, and emphasize how important it is for the history of stand-up paddling? Obviously, the APP World Tour has been part of that big time with Huntington Beach, among others. What is so important in Southern California that it was, and it's still likely to become again the mecca of stand-up paddling?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you go all the way back and look at the early days of stand-up paddling, it obviously had its kind of burst out onto the scene in Hawaii, but it quickly transitioned over to California, where there was a lot of energy behind the racing in the sport, with Battle of the Paddle coming about and some really exciting things happening over there. As you said, we went over there quite quickly. We were in Huntington for a few years. We worked with the PPG. We had some association with the Battle of the Paddle back in the early days as well. So we've definitely been involved there. And I think it nurtured a lot of the industry heads. A lot of the brands moved there and started having their headquarters there. And it's also somewhat of the surfing capital of the US as well. So I think it's a melting pot for our kind of water sports environment. And so for us, it was incredibly important to bring it back to Southern California. And like I said, with the Olympic nod as well for 2028 that we're gunning towards, it's an important strategic move as well.
Absolutely. Santa Monica is the first, though. What can you tell us about this event and the conditions attached to it?
Absolutely. It's building off an older event that's been going for several years called the Pier 360 event. It's been a really, really cool event over the years, and the likes of Candace Appleby, Danny Ching, all those guys have been competing there over the years. But I think we came in to really kind of up the level from a performance standpoint on the stand-up paddle side, see how we can build out the festival with the great team there at Santa Monica Pier. And, we wanted to figure out what was the next step for this event. So as I looked at it, I was thinking of what is going to make it special from, racing perspective. And on analyzing the course, the idea of creating a downwind experience, if at all possible, and certainly an open ocean race was really interesting for me. And being able to show the backdrop of Los Angeles, which is one of the most recognizable cities in the world, and Santa Monica, quite honestly, is Santa Monica Pier is one of the most iconic piers in all of the US. So to have an event that starts in Malibu, which is equally as well known, and comes all the way down to Santa Monica Pier in a peer-to-peer race, it's a cool, iconic event that follows the whole skyline of Los Angeles, but it also, it can be a really, really challenging and exciting run. Danny Ching said it's one of the best runs. When it's on his day, it's really, really good. So you're planning a big downwind. How long is it going to be? It's about 16 kilometers, 16.5 kilometers, more or less. So a little bit longer than the standard kind of 10K format, but it is downwind, it is open ocean. And it's just such a cool course, honestly. I'm really excited about that one. We have transport taking the athletes up to Malibu Pier in a school bus and trucks with all the boards. So it'll be a really cool experience for all those guys. And then the sprint course is obviously pretty standard APP format, M course through the surf right under the pier. So with 40 to 50,000 people a day on Santa Monica Pier, it's going to be a good spectacle and great for the sport. I think that's something really great about it. And on top of that, one of the challenges with the event has been getting new people onto the water because Santa Monica is traditionally quite rough. It's not very easy to learn. So we're bringing the APP pool and putting it right on the top of the pier. So people will be able to come in and do SUP yoga, introductory sessions, sessions with the pros, all that kind of stuff on the pier in the middle of it all. So it should be a really cool event.
Many events worldwide are now offer 3 different races. You've got the sprints, which are very different from the technical races and the long distance. You're sticking to 2 races within the event. Sprint races, which are basically a mix of technical racing and sprints, correct?
Well, not really. I think from our perspective, we see, the technical race format was something that was brought in by Battle of the Paddle back in the early days. And I think it became like the standard where everybody felt it had to go that way. For us, I see the technical race more as a shorter version of the distance race, honestly, because, every race in my eyes should test people's board skills, their endurance skills, distance endurance skills, but in sprints, it's the fast-paced sprint skills. But each of them, we're still a board riding sport. People should be tested in that domain as well. So just to have a single straight line course all the time, I think is, you're kind of missing a lot of the fun of it. On the weekend, 3 races is too much, and that's on consulting with the athletes. So I know when there are 3 race format, athletes will typically do 1 or 2 races. For us, it's really important that we showcase the best overall in the sport. And that's why we have, obviously we crown our sprint champion, we crown our distance champion, but the overall champion is significant for us.
All right. Have you got already some names to give as to the participants for the Santa Monica?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we got the front runners like multiple times world champion Connor Baxter, Danny Ching will be there, Candace Apple will be there, April Zilk, all those kind of top runners. And obviously the 2019 world champion Casper Steinfath, 2018 world champion Arthur Rudkin. Unfortunately, Fiona Wild is injured, as you know. She was supposed to be there as well. But on an exciting side, I just heard that Esperanza Barrera is coming out for the event, which is fantastic. And then we've got a really welcome return to Mo Freitas, which I'm personally really excited about because for me, he's always been like the guy I saw as one of the most talented all-round paddlers in the world, from surfing to racing to everything. So,
yeah, and I also heard that 16-year-old Shrimpy is going to be in Santa Monica, and he's been racing really, really well. How do you feel about these youngsters showing up in the latest competitions?
No, I will say that is one of the most exciting things at the moment, where I think it is a little bit of a change in the guard. Obviously, you still got the likes of Connor, who is strong as ever, Casper, Arthur, all those guys. But to see these new young kids come in, particularly Shrimpy, and then you see also in the US, we've got Bodie, I think it's Von Alman. He's an incredible downwind paddler. He'll be in Santa Monica. We have Campbell Carter from Carolina. There's other younger paddlers coming from Japan, coming from all over the US. And coming from Europe as well. So I think it's, when we also look at with the event that just happened in Costa Brava, seeing the level and the amount of young kids from Spain coming up through the ranks, I think, that's only an amazing sign for what's to come with the sport. So.
Very positive indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you got lined up after Santa Monica for us?
So we got Santa Monica, and then it goes straight on to London, or a couple of months later. Actually, it's in just towards the end of August, 19th or 18th to the 21st. That is the venue this year is out of this world. It's right in the center of Canary Wharf, which is the business district in London. Water all around the big buildings that are all the major banks of the world, and we have an amazing kind of amphitheater or arena-like setting for the sprint course with stadium seating and viewing all around. And again, the footprint coming out of one of the busiest tube stations in that whole area. So we're looking at sort of 40 to 50,000 people a day coming right out at the venue. So really, really exciting place for the sprints and really dynamic course as well. And then for the distance, we got our iconic Thames race this year with a little bit of a twist. It's a little bit longer. And we're coming from Battersea, which is, we're going a different direction than last year. Last year, we started in Tower of London and went down to Putney.
Yeah, and that was pretty short, right? It was 10K.
It was more than 10K, but it was short. The first year was really short. The second year we did longer. And this year it's going to be around the 16K mark as well, because we're starting in Battersea and we go all the way down to Canary Wharf. So you still pass Houses of Parliament, London Eye, Tower of London, all those major landmarks. But you end up at Canary Wharf, and then there'll be a really short portage where the athletes will have to get out of the water, come up a slipway and down into the water into Canary Wharf, which would be a nice little technical element for everybody. And then it'll be the final kind of leg to the finish in the middle of Canary Wharf. So, really, really interesting course, which should, be exciting to see. And then we have all kinds of demo opportunities, introductory paddle sessions, SUP yoga, all the different festival activities we're building through the year. And we have a pro-am course around the wharf. It's about 6.5, 7 kilometer race around the waterways of Canary Wharf, which is a super cool course as well, actually, with incredible buildings all around you. So really unique atmosphere for a race, for sure.
That sounds really great. And after that, we're going to have Korea. You're going to have your first ever event organized in Korea. That's where you are right now. How did the Asian qualifier go last weekend?
Well, it's amazing. It's exciting to see a region where the sport is in that infancy stage. Everybody's incredibly excited. You have a big event. Our partners put on a fantastic show over here, massive event set up, massive amount of opportunities for the athletes. And it was a world-class event. Honestly, they put on a fantastic show. And the venue is ideal and really dramatic with the bridge behind and everything. It's just a really, really cool place. And that coupled with the uniqueness of the culture, the food experience, the history, it's going to be a really, really cool event and a really accessible event because the location, the water is really accessible. It's not too rough, really easy for everybody, but the course is going to be very technical. And it's going to require the best guys to step up and do the battle.
I know that you've got more exciting announcements to make, but I'm just curious, what happened to New York and to Osaka, my two favorite destinations?
Well, we love the footprint in New York. We love being at the heart of the city, under the Freedom Tower. But the issue with New York is the accessibility for your every person. We can put on a pro race around the Statue of Liberty, but as you know, the waterways are pretty treacherous. And it's certainly a challenge to navigate across them with all the different water users. So, the vision and the future of how we see these city paddle festivals going is very much focused on inclusivity. And while the pool provided a really good access point, it was limited because, at the end of the day, it's 20 meters by 10 meters. And you can only put 8 people at a time in. So, the idea of being in London, for example, where there's waterways all around you and you can get everybody in the water, regardless of, ability, fitness and anything else is fantastic. So we're really focused on venues where we can bring the pro spectacle, the excitement around that. We can bring a really competitive pro-am field. And then we can really provide that all access kind of opportunity for your everyman to come in and take part. Osaka, it's a postponement rather than a cancellation. We love the Osaka venue. The reality is that the Olympics took a big toll on Japan. It was a big undertaking in the middle of COVID. I think everything just is a little calm this year. as they kind of regroup after, you know, the COVID pandemic and hosting the Olympics. So I think that was the decision was taken by the authorities that we should wait and let's do something really proper in 2023.
I see. So how do athletes travel from one event to another? How do you work with board logistics and things like that? Do you take part in that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been working tirelessly actually for the last 4 months on developing a program, which we're in the final stages of right now, to be able to transport the boards from each location. So, you know, all the boards that are in LA can then go over to London, then London to Korea, and so on around the tour. So it's a logistics partner that we've been working with for the solution. So be excited to announce more on that in the next week or so. So that's coming with all the other announcements. So it's yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's we're trying to get everything tied up and ready to go for you know, literally 2 weeks time when we'll be on the shores of Santa Monica.
Brilliant. As you can probably see, there are a lot of events now and even more circuits. The ICF is coming strong with now an ICF circuit on top of two pretty successful World Championship events in the last two editions. Does that put any pressure on the APP?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to set ourselves apart as the professional tour, and a tour that's sequential in nature, where, you know, it's much like the Surfing World Tour, where people compete across the year, and then, you know, you really determine who's the best guy in the world at the end of the year, rather than a single event that you might have an off day. Then, you know, you don't win the World Championship because you had one off day in 365 days of a year. So our goal is to create that sequential path to a world title. Prize money wise, we try to set it far apart, which I think we've done, which is over double, I think, anything else that's out there at the moment. And we got some big announcements in that regard coming in the next week or so. So I had some good news this evening that made me feel a little more confident to be able to say that. So yeah, you know, I think with the minimum of $25,000, which is the lowest amount, and most of them are 25,000 euros. Some of them are 30,000, Korea's 30,000 euros. You know, and then it's going to be going up from there. So, you know, and with 2023 lining up already really strong, I think we'll be able to release our calendar by the end of September. You know, I'm excited about what the future holds for sure.
I didn't bounce when you said it, but for me, one of the big news of this interview is the comeback of Mo Freitas.
Yep.
Where has Mo been over the past 3 years? And if you're able to bring him back, are you also able to bring Kai Lenny back?
Well, you know, I think Mo, you know, he was there till the end of 2019. A little bit went into hibernation with COVID, obviously, and also he was training to be a lifeguard, which he now is, a fully qualified Hawaiian Beach Patrol lifeguard in the city and county of Honolulu. So I think he just suddenly got the urge. I think he's been training really hard. I think he's been doing a lot of physical training. He's been surfing a lot, and he's motivated. How it pans out in terms of his calendar and how he can fit it around his current work remains to be seen. But he was super excited to make it to Santa Monica and do this race. So that was, you know, we're super psyched to see him back, and I would love to see him back on the surfing tour as well, just because he's such a natural and such a great talent. So excited to see him back. And with regards to Kai Lenny, you know, we all know he's a bit of a superstar these days. I would say, you know, his MO is definitely, if he's going to do it, he wants to win. I think he realizes that in the distance racing, it requires a massive amount of training in order to be competitive. I think in the sprint racing, he still has the option to come in and drop in and do really, really well, as he showed in London in 2018. Where he came in and everybody thought he hasn't been racing for years, and he beat everyone. So I think it's very much Kai Lenny's style of doing things. So you never know, he might show up at one of the events. You know, we're always in touch and talking about it. And I know he's planning to do some surfing events too. So yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. One last question, which is a big one. So maybe we can have it your answer in a nutshell. I should have probably started with this, but can you remind us the history of the APP, which was called differently until 2018, I think? Yeah. So in short, what's the background of the APP and the APP World Tour?
Absolutely. Well, we started the Waterman League, which was basically the parent company, back in 2009. Launched we had an exhibition event just in surfing to begin with back in 2009 in Tahiti, a place we both love. Really, really beautiful. And that led to a lovely relationship over there, actually, that lasted several years. We launched the World Tour for Surfing in 2010 with 5 events. Kai Lenny was crowned the first ever world champion after I gave him a wild card controversially at the beginning of the year. Everybody complained. I think he proved himself worthy of it. So, which is a good thing. And then, by the 2011, we saw the emergence of racing. We launched this kind of sister property, the Stand Up World Series, at the end of 2011. And then, we've been going since there, growing both the racing and the surfing sides of the sport. Towards 2016, we kind of reached a critical mass of how we could operate in terms of bouncing all over the world and trying to be everywhere, doing everything, and kind of somewhere between a sanctioning model and a fully operational model. And it was challenging. So, we took a step back, recalibrated, and in 2017, we launched the APP World Tour with a more concise format through, actually 2018 was the first year that we really were able to launch the APP World Tour in earnest. And then we've been gradually building and building from there. Obviously, COVID got in the way a little bit there for a couple of years. But yeah, there's some exciting things ahead. I think all the work we did through 2018 and 19 of going in this big city direction, I think has started to pay off, where host venues see the value of what we're doing, of bringing together this inclusive all access appeal of the sport with the professional side. So.
Yeah, SUP racing, as I said, is pretty big now. Bigger in some countries like Spain, where I was last weekend. Pretty amazing what the amount of work they do there with kids and so on. But you're the only circuit that's really, really serious into SUP surfing.
Yeah.
What can you say about the state of SUP surfing right now?
I think it's like you said, we're the only ones, and COVID was challenging because guys are trying to keep themselves relevant while there's no competition platform for them to compete on. So that was a real challenge, I think, for them and for us. But we're excited to have 3 really great events this year. That'll be building to 4 events minimum in 2023. We're already in discussions towards that 4th event, and I think it's in a healthy spot. I think, there was a lot of interest and focus on it in the early days. Then racing kind of took center stage. I don't think that'll ever change, because obviously the mass participation side of it will always be racing. But, I think as a sport, there's no doubt that the dynamic nature of kind of the stand-up surfing side attracts people's eyes. It's an exciting format. And quite honestly, for everyday people, it's a very accessible form of surfing. So, I always look at stand-up paddling, having been a multi-sport athlete all my life, stand-up paddling is really such a great gateway sport to all the different ocean sports that stand-up surfing is it's a really important arm of the sport.
Yes, well, we look forward to the Santa Monica event, officially named the US SUP Open 2022 exactly. At Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah.
By the APP World Tour. Where can we watch the show?
You can watch all the show at appworldtour.com, and obviously across our Facebook page. And I'm sure be cross-posting with you as well at TotalSUP. So, we're excited to be working with you on the event. But no, it'll be a fantastic show. We got some exciting new things up our sleeve from a media perspective that I think will transform the game quite a lot. We've been working hard on it. So yeah, I think it'll be a great event. We've got sprint racing on the Saturday and then distance racing on the Sunday. So those will be the 2 live broadcast elements. And then they'll, for people in the area, that it'll definitely be worth coming down all weekend. There's going to be all kinds of action on the pier. So it should be a lot of fun. We're
very excited about this. Thank you very much, Tristan. Have you got anything that you want to add?
No, I think that's it for now. We're excited about kicking off a new season. It's been since the end of 2019 since we could say that. So, it's super exciting, and to be starting in LA, London, and then Korea. I mean, it's a great first 3 events covering the European continent, the Americas, and Asia. I think, that's a pretty strong statement. And, we're excited, like we said, to see all the new talent coming to the table, see all the young kids coming out, and for, a really competitive and exciting new season. And you can watch all that on appworldtour.com or TotalSUP. Thank you, Tristan. Have a safe flight back home, and we'll see you
on our screens at the end of the month for the Santa Monica event.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mathieu.